the Saturday Morning Wake Up Show with your host Michael Nolen here on FM 104.3, University of Guadalajara Radio. This morning we're very, very blessed to have Wong Lee here on the show. And Mr. Lee is the artist, sculptor that has an ongoing exhibit here at the University Museum, the Peter Gray Museum. It started last Thursday night and is going through, I believe, March 1st, March 3rd?
March 5th.
March 5th, something like that.
Yeah.
And I want to welcome Mr. Lee to the show. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for taking the time to come tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Or today, I'm sorry. Mr. Lee is a very, very interesting man. It's the first time I've had the pleasure to meet him. But a little bio, he was born in Seoul, South Korea.
Right.
And lived after a while in LA for several years and studied at Pepperdine University.
That's right.
That's one of the most beautiful campuses.
It is.
If you don't know Pepperdine University, it's on a ledge or a hill that overlooks Malibu.
Right.
And it is a beautiful, beautiful campus. I'll tell you what. It's. I went to school there for 1 year, but I flunked out because I was surfing every day. Not really. But he also lives in Canada.
Right.
And has lived up there and designed, I guess, some of his art there. But he's very prominent here in Puerto Vallarta. You've been showing at quite a few of the galleries for several years.
Right.
And there is a permanent sculpture that you did that's here on the campus all the time, that's out in the garden,
That's right.
over by the Crocodile Pond and outside the Graves Museum. It's a beautiful sculpture.
My wife's 2 feet sticking out there.
Oh, is that right?
That's her.
That's
I
her.
wondered
Wow.
for her feet.
Well, we're also blessed to have his wife here on the show today. She's not going to be talking, but she's here, and it's an honor to have you here, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Well, the exhibition's going on, and I had an opportunity to go over and see some of the art. Very, very impressive. I think most of the sculptures that you have in there are bronze. Am I correct? I know you've also worked in hard rock, and some of the artwork or sculptures are very small, and some of them are pretty darn good size.
Right.
And in looking through your book, I've seen that you make some that are, what, 4 or 5 meters, 3 or 4 meters high?
5, 6 meters.
That are outside, and some of your artwork, some of Mr. Lee's artwork is scattered all over the United States. I saw some in Texas, some in Canada, a lot in Mexico, China.
Yes.
What other countries do you have them displayed in?
Oh, Vermont, Korea, Singapore. Vermont, Korea, Singapore, and what else? Oh, Vietnam.
Vietnam, wow. All over the world. Well, he's a real world famous artist. And I had a couple of questions about some of your art after looking at some of them. You do not only sculpture, that's your main focus it seems like at the time, but I even saw one of your books that you did a project called Red Jeans Burning. What was that all about? I'll tell you, there's like 30 pairs of jeans that you lit on fire and let them burn. It was pretty cool looking. I wish I'd have been there.
It was actually made of China paper.
Oh, China paper. Wow.
And it's a rice paper.
Yes.
And I was working, I was doing painting on China paper all the time. China ink on rice paper. I do it all the time for meditation purposes.
Oh, wow.
So I virtually had thousands of them. And when Omar Gallery come up with this idea of the theme red.
Yes.
I was thinking, maybe I can use this material.
That's pretty cool.
So what I did was I invited models that were naked.
Yeah.
And I put the glue on their body.
Yeah.
And I glued these papers. I used some papers. My painting is there. I glue them on them, the body, naked body.
Yes.
So Jean is exact, perfect copy of the model.
Wow.
And we cut the sides.
Yes.
Took it out and dry it. So this glue made a kind of solid material out of paper. And then I sprayed red. So it's all real body, all different models.
Wow.
So I made about 30 of them. And that night, it took about a month and a half to make them all. And that night, all gone to flame.
Were you married at the time?
Yes.
And your wife let you do that?
She was helping.
She was helping you. Man,
Yes. She was helping me. She was painting. She was.
I need to introduce you to my wife because I think I'd get shot if that happened. But it was really a cool project. That's not what you have here at the campus. If you do it again, they'll let me know. Okay? Because I'd be glad to come help you.
The whole point was this: the blue jeans for me is like the representative of the extreme consumer capitalism.
Yes.
Imagine when I was in Costa Rica, the workers get paid $1 a day making blue jeans.
For Levi's, excuse me, I should have said that name, but anyway, for the big name manufacturers we all know.
Yeah, and they sent everything back to the United States.
Yes, sir.
And they put the trademark,
The label.
Levi's or whatever.
Wrangler.
And then they come back to Puerto Vallarta, and they're selling a pair of blue jeans for $80. Workers get paid
$1 to make materials, probably $1.50.
Yes, and then they wear them. They have to wear them to be fashionable.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So this is a capitalism. This is consumerism. This is induced desire. They're using, the capitalists is using to exploit every worker. They want to make us working machine and spending machine. So that is the point of that. And by burning them, it was like, there was a we talk about all the time, is art consuming thing, or is art something different? But art, after it's made, it becomes a production. It becomes something to sell. Mm-hmm. So by burning that, it was kind of a decommoditization.
That's exactly right.
Decommoditization.
Because that was art,
Yeah.
and I don't think Van Gogh and Rubens and Leonardo da Vinci, they never even thought about selling their art. They just did it. And like you probably got into the art because you were a CPA,
Right.
if I
Right.
read your bio right, and kind of it was a way to relieve tension and stress and counting numbers and all that, and you decided, well, and Peter Gray did the same thing. Mm-hmm. His art was brought out of him as a way to relieve, mm-hmm. to relax, to learn the inner spirit of himself, to be able to communicate, and you know, all great artists have their inner feelings, and it's just released them out.
Yeah.
And us, the general public, are very blessed to be able to enjoy what people such as yourself create and allow us to enjoy it.
We do it because for fun of doing it. But after we do it, it becomes all of a sudden it's something to sell. So that's why
Capitalism.
I was burning them.
To show that you didn't really care about
In the
those.
meantime, she and a few other people were filming them. And then the filming purpose is commoditization.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what way it'll be used. It's on YouTube, whole burning process.
Oh, is that so? You go to YouTube and see this. Whether they put it type in just red jean burning, and they'll probably come up with it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go watch the video of that thing. I'll tell you what. I was in Houston one year and I saw some. There's a lady named Yoko Ono, mm-hmm. and she was kind of a famous artist, but her husband was a little bit more famous. I think his name was John Lennon, something like that. But I saw her, and she had an art display, and it was a 10-minute video, and it was nothing but naked people's backhines, and it flashed a new backhine or a new picture about every 4 or 6 seconds. And it went on for about 10 minutes. And you saw every single size, every single kind. We saw some of those models, and then we saw some people like me, and then we saw some people like Fatty Arbuckle. But I guess she spent 6 months doing nothing but asking people to drop their drawers and show their behind, their derriere. I don't want to have too racy of a show today, but that was art to her. Mm-hmm. And art can be anything. I mean, it can be some, you know, Rembrandts, Picasso's, your art, or then it can be my granddaughter's scribblings. Right. That her 4 or 5-year-olds, I think those are the most beautiful paintings I've ever seen, are in the Vatican Museum, the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, Russia, and in my house that my granddaughter scribbled on paper. They're just beautiful.
like I said in the artist talk the other day, everybody is an artist.
That's true.
Matter of fact,
somehow
everything is an artist.
Well, nature, Mother Earth, God made some incredible things.
Exactly. Have you seen non-beautiful trees? Have you seen non-beautiful flowers? Everything is so beautiful. Even if it's ugly. So
porcupines are even pretty to some
sure.
A female porcupine is real pretty than a male porcupine.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk about a couple of the things you have here at the museum. You have a large collection of your sculptures, and unfortunately we can only put out about 40 or 50 of them here in the Peter Gray Museum, but the ones that you have out, you have one that it's number 396, Affected. Am I saying that correct?
Right.
And what it reminded me of was the Chinese teriyaki warriors that the Emperor of China did many years ago.
Just dynasty.
Hundreds of figurines. Now the how do you say that word? Terracotta. Terracotta warriors are life-size figures. He was building his life-size army for his afterlife. Yours are much smaller figures. They're what, 3 to 5 inches tall?
That's right.
And there's probably 150 of them. What does that represent? Where'd you come up with that idea?
396.
396. Well, I guess that's why that's the number.
396. Now the number came because I made 99 figures in one day.
Wow.
That's and times 4 copies of them.
Okay.
So
this isn't a math test.
My nose was almost bleeding at the end of the day.
That's 99 figures.
99 figures.
That's a lot of work in one day. You must have got up awful early.
Yeah.
I had a real good friend in Houston that was a OBGYN doctor, and believe it or not, this man grew up as a child with Pope John Paul. He was from Poland. And he had Parkinson's disease, but he kept saying 13, 13, 13. And so finally I asked his wife, I said, why does Dr. Thomas keep saying 13? That was his record. He had actually delivered 13 babies in one 24-hour period.
Whoa.
That's a bunch of little kids.
That's more than 99 of little figures.
Yeah, and those are all running around people right now. He was an OBGYN and doctor at the Baylor Medical Center there in Houston for 30 years. So if he did, say his average was 5 times 6-7 days a week, boy, that's a lot of half of Houston. Hey, another one that I really liked was Playground Number 7. And I would have named it something like Rough Playground Number 7 because on here there's a sword fight going on, and there's a guy with crutches and only one leg, kind of like a pirate, and then a real tall figurine. I don't know what that is. It's like a lady dancing, but it's a really beautiful sculpture. But I think all of the playground, you have 8 or 9 playground figurines and pieces of art. They're all really cool. So that was one of my favorites. And where'd you come up with that name? Was it just one in the series, number 7 that you did in the series?
Something like that. But it is my work is basically I don't pre-design anything.
Yeah, you just get there and start.
I just start, and some images pops, and then I put them in, and then I am in kind of the zone of every moment I meet with my sculpture. I talk with my sculpture, and sculpture will tell me what they need.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I just do it, follow it. So it's very easy. That's why I work so fast.
How long does it take you, if you don't mind me asking, how long does it take you to say make one of your...
Mostly one day.
One day, you get in there, you start working, it comes to you?
Yeah.
There's another one really cool. It's at the edge of the Imminence number 10. And you know what this reminds me of? To a certain extent, the artwork that's down on the Malecone where there's the ladder and the 3 or 4 little kids are climbing up it. But that's only one piece of this work. The other one's a large wall, and there's people scaling a wall, and that's kind of like a prison break. The whole thing looks like a prison break. I think I would have named it Prison Break or Ladder Climbers or something.
Well, it's basically we're all trying to escape the prison that we constructed in this world.
That's exactly right.
Artist at least has to try to get out of it.
I took a criminology class one time in college, and there was a guy named Dr. Haido Shaguga. He was from India. and he was head of the prison system in New Delhi, India for 5 years as a criminologist. And he said he finally left there and came to Oklahoma State University, where he taught for 30 years. He said there wasn't a wall there wasn't a locked door, there were no chains, there was nothing, but he couldn't escape that place. He'd been there 30 years. He said he got out of the prison system in 5, but it took him 30 to get out of university.
Talking about prison, this show is going to move to Zacatecas.
Oh, it is?
Yes, Francisco Goita Museum.
Okay.
Francisco Goita Museum was formerly colonial prison.
Oh, really?
And it's the most beautiful building you will ever see.
Wow. Well, is Taquite House also where the Quinta Real Hotel has the the old bullfighting ring?
Okay.
there's a Quinta Real has one of the hotels I stayed at, and it's the old bullfighting ring. And they built the hotel around it, and that's the big plaza in the middle of the hotel. It's gorgeous.
Wow.
So, hey, there's another one on here, and it's called At the Edge, number 7. And to me, it looked like my golf game. The guy's got a big old swing and a pole with a half moon, which reminded me of the flag. And I don't want to rename all of your artwork, but that's kind of what that reminded me of. And then 5 or 6 people standing here looking at this artwork that are on the art piece itself, and it's kind of they're laughing at me like my golf game.
Yeah, my artwork never talks straight. It's just murmurings.
Well, everything is kind of really. What would you call your art? I mean, is it have a name?
They talk. They all talk.
Yeah.
But their own language.
But your type of sculptures, or it's freehand, or I'm not an artist, so I don't know exactly how you would describe your type of art.
I usually use the wires for the bones.
Okay.
So I don't need to design. Wire can be bent anytime, anywhere I want to. So when sculpture is being made, I just follow my hand, my eyes.
But do you dip it in molten bronze or what to get the total figure?
After that, with the bones and clays, borrow. After that, it's molded and it's casted in bronze. It's so many procedures the founders do, but that's their business.
The thing I love about this book, and he has some books that you'll be able to look at, all about his sculptures, the ones he's gone all over the world with, and it talks about your beginning, your bio, your history. It has a lot of really nice letters written by other people about your artwork and what they think it is. It has your methods. It has how you make things. It's just really, really a great book. I mean, and are you also a poet? Because in some places in the book you have like Time Has Elapsed, number 1. That's another really, really neat sculpture. And you have a little poem there like you do on many of your,
yes,
in the book anyway.
I don't trust straight language. I only trust poetic language.
Well, I mean, just this one right here says, on time has elapsed, a wolf has written up a poem. A girl finally forgets her name. The sun blazes on white wall. Time has elapsed. And that kind of describes what this sculpture kind of looks like. And then there's an empty chair there, one that's not quite finished. I named it Unfinished Chair. I don't think you're going to let me name any of the sculptures after some of the things, but you also do the wire type sculptures, but then here in the book there's some other pictures of things you've done that's massive life-size bronzes. There's one called Tell Me About It. I called it Tore Out My Heart.
Exactly, that's what it is.
but some of your art is just really, really makes you think. When you look at this art, and not just from one side, you have to look at it from all 4 sides, and maybe the top. And if you, like me, I get down on the floor and looked at a couple of them, because you see things that from one area that's completely different than the other.
Oh, exactly.
If you looked at this one, Tore Out, or Tell Me About It, you wouldn't know that there's a big hole where in the cavity of the chest where the heart would have been from the back. But you get to the front and it gives it a whole different meaning. Do you intend when you're doing your art to make people really think about things?
That was a bit earlier work.
Okay.
About 12 years or 13 years old. And at the time I was a little more serious. I was a little more existentialist. Now I'm nothing. But if anything, I call
You evolved.
Yes, I call myself Delusian, but that means I'm nothing.
Well, no, you're a salamander.
Yeah.
You're moving
So-
with what your heart, what your mind, what your feelings, what your soul.
That's the great thing about being an artist. I am free. I go one place, I see another door,
Yeah.
I open it.
Yeah.
And I see another door, I open it again and go there. And I don't respect artists who has this fixed style of things. And they stay there. And it could be popular, so they sell. So they stay there.
They stay
don't
there,
go
stay
anywhere.
there, and stay there.
I don't care about, but as long as I can live comfortably, I'm fine. So I am entitled to go any door I want to and change.
I'm really smiling because I read a quote from an art dealer in the United States about Mr. Wong's or Mr. Lee's art. It said, and this was basically, tell what the quote said. He was selling a lot of your art and was being very, very successful. And then you changed and started doing a whole lot of different art. And he said, Mr. Lee, I got all of my customers finally convinced that this was really beautiful, great art, and I've been selling a lot, and now you've completely changed. I'm going to have to try and resell them on your new style, your new types of work of art, so they'll start buying some of that. And he said, maybe I can't do that because your last stuff was so great. So that was a cute story that I read there in your book.
Oh, that was in the book?
Yeah, it's in here somewhere, a little story about it.
Really?
Yeah. You're telling on yourself.
No, she was really pissed.
Oh, as a lady?
Yeah.
She wasn't too happy, huh?
She wasn't. But now she's happy because she knows.
They've accepted your new stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
so it's great that people follow me, and sometimes they, this is completely new. I don't understand this at all. It can't be on my living room. Maybe that's fine, but they usually catch up. So it was a very, very nice.
Well,
feeling.
any artist, I think people like Van Gogh. I think I read one where that he had painted over 100,000 paintings in his lifestyle, in his lifetime, and not just painting, but art, sculpture, everything that he did. And that might have been Rembrandt. I'm not sure. It was one of those famous artist guys I saw. But what else would you like to tell our listening audience about the exposition? I mean, it's really fantastic. You need to come here to the campus and see it, and get your own ideas about what Mr. Lee's art says. But
viewing artwork, it's all really individual endeavor. Whatever you can get, it's yours. And my way of saying some art is good has two criteria. One is the artwork has to be alive on its own, stand on its own, it talks its own language, and perhaps some audience catch those languages that the sculpture pieces try to tell. It doesn't have to be the same language. That's why I don't trust the language anyway. Because language terms and squeeze and uses as structure us into something that capitalists use to put us in the box. So sculpture will talk, but understanding it or feeling it is the only thing. You don't have to be obliged to, this is great or this is great. You don't have to. But some piece may talk to you. Then you listen to it. Then sculpture's language will turn into your own voice. Rather than language, your own voice. Something vibrates inside of you. And that's great. And second criteria is that this great art piece, if you look at some great art piece, for a second or two, flash of a second, you go somewhere else. So if art piece suggests the possibility of different world, different other than this world, that normal world that we are boxed in. Capitalism is so strong to put us in this box, to control with the money, desire. It's so strong force. But by watching art, or listening beautiful music, or reading some beautiful poetry, for a second or two, you feel there's something else.
Exactly.
There's something else other than this.
Well, that's one reason I'm really, really happy I'm on the University of Guadalajara radio, because we're a non-commercial radio station.
Right.
We don't break for commercials. Now, we do have to do a couple federal government things because we're funded by the federal government of Mexico. And that's one thing that some of my listeners that listen each week, they hear a couple commercials in the middle of the show that are in Spanish. And I said to the radio manager, can we change those and have those in English? She said, well, honestly, we have to do that because it's governmental type talking and political stuff. Who wants to listen to that anyway? Not me. But I did. I kind of, when I was in the museum for an hour or so a day, it was a relief. It was an escape. I'd had a really, really hectic day, and it was a peaceful time. I was fortunate to be the only one in the museum and got to walk around and really, really enjoy it. And I know your sculpture speaks English, because you're from Canadian and you speak good English, and Korean. So there's two languages I know it speaks. But I think it speaks to everybody no matter what language you are. That's the cool thing about art. You don't have to verbally say anything.
Right.
All you got to do is look and open your eyes or your ears, or sometimes I guess, your emotions.
Yeah.
But I encourage everybody to please come down and see Mr. Lee's art. It's just spectacular. You'll really, really walk away with a little bit different feeling than when you walked into the doors.
That's all we ask.
And thank you very much for taking the time, for coming to the radio station today and informing my listeners on the Good Morning Wake Up show about your art. And look forward to maybe having you back again next time you have an exposition here at the university.
Anytime, you're welcome.
Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
Museography. The museum space was beautiful. It was like a perfect space. After my wife did the museography, where to put what, where to put what, and the whole place becomes someplace else. So it was a wonderfully done with my wife's endeavor and the beautiful space. And the people were amazing to have us around. So thank you very much. And you were one of them.
Well, thank you for being on my show. We're trying to educate and inform the English-speaking community here in the Bay of Banderas area. And thank you again, Mr. Lee, for coming to the show. And thank you to your lovely wife for coming also and helping you out and staging everything in the art gallery for us. You did a fabulous job. Everything just flows so easily and so smooth. And especially when you come in, you're just the two large figures. I almost didn't walk past them for 10 minutes. I was looking at this and that and the other. But anyway, again, Mr. Lee, thank you very much for taking the time to come and be on the Good Morning Wake Up show. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for having me.